Hi everyone, I'll be looking at Psalm 126 this evening as part of our reflections on the Psalms of Ascent. So I'll read that psalm for us first. When the Lord brought back the captives to Zion, we were like men who dreamed. Our mouths were filled with laughter, our tongues with songs of joy. Then it was said among the nations, the Lord has done great things for them. The Lord has done great things for us, and we are filled with joy. Restore our fortunes, O Lord, like streams in the Negev. Those who sow in tears will reap with songs of joy. He who goes out weeping, carrying seed to sow, will return with songs of joy, carrying sheaves with him. And I wanted to focus mainly on those last two verses, because they were the ones that spoke to me and jumped out at me when I was reading this psalm, because it speaks about the idea of exchange. And that's the thing that really stands out to me in this psalm. It's about people who were in captivity and they've returned to their homes, and now they're experiencing great joy in place of where they had been experiencing despair and distress. And I just love the idea and the imagery of exchange that we get all throughout the Bible. Those places where God exchanges brokenness and issues in people's lives for good things that he has for them. We see it especially in the cross, in the imagery of Jesus dying in our place, in exchanging our sin for his righteousness, that we get to live in his righteousness now, as we give God our sin, that exchange that takes place there. And also in the stories of people in the Bible that we read where they received hope in place of despair, where they had freedom in place of captivity. These people, the story of the Israelites in Exodus, and the verse in particular that always speaks to me about beauty for ashes, where we get to give God those things that feel ugly and broken, and in its place we get beauty instead. And I can say that I've seen in my own life that I've seen God exchange those things that have felt difficult and broken for me, where I've seen him bring community in place of loneliness, where I've seen healing instead of brokenness, and strength instead of weakness, and especially fear, exchanging that in place of faith. I would say a recent example of that is when I learned to swim last year, which was a lifelong fear for me, that started with God speaking to me, something new about that, speaking a new thing over that particular area. And it wasn't even something that I was particularly thinking about at the time, but I started to see things from a new perspective, and that led to me exchanging my fear and receiving faith instead, and receiving healing in that area. And so I just thought maybe there's something that is a big thing in our lives, like that was for me, where you really want to see God bring that exchange, that supernatural change in that area, or maybe it's something small. Maybe there's something next week that feels like it's hanging over you, and the way that you feel about it or you're thinking about it, you want God to bring a change in that. I really believe that God is able to do that in the big and the small, and so I just thought it'd be a good opportunity before the start of next week to think about, is there anything where I really want to see God bring about a change in this? Perhaps it's a physical change, or perhaps it is a change in thinking and a change in perspective, because a lot of the time that change in thinking is what leads to the change in how we feel about something and the way we act. So I just I want to pray to finish, so that we have opportunity then to reflect on that, and hopefully there might be more testimonies and stories about where God's brought about change in those things in our lives that feel difficult or broken or empty. So God, I thank you for this psalm and the way it teaches us that you give us joy in place of weeping, and we just bring those areas to you that cause us pain and weeping, and we just ask that you would bring about that supernatural change whether that's changing our thinking or whether you're going to bring a breakthrough in that area. We just ask that you would help us to see that you're at work, and that we would just give you all the glory for the good things that you do in our lives and the way in which you change things that are difficult and broken, and you bring about good things in their place. In Jesus' name we ask. Amen.